We are live on YouTube.
Should we go through and get an audio check for each person so we can hear everybody?
Sure.
So you can hear me. I'm gonna mute.
And unfortunately, they can hear me.
So go on mute. You can hear me, I hope. If not, I'm going on mute.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Jeff.
All right.
Can you? Hey,
You hear me, Beth? Got it. I think y'all can hear me.
What?
We all good there, Scott?
I think so. I didn't hear from Tammy.
I'm here.
Okay. And Denny.
I'm here.
All right. Sounds good.
All right, well, it is 7 o'clock according to my clock here. So I would like to welcome everybody to tonight's August 4th, 2020 Dayton, Kentucky City Council. Can I please have a roll call, Ms. Ledger?
Mayor Baker,
Here.
Member Volter,
Here.
Member Neary,
Here.
Member Baszler,
Here.
Member Cornett,
Here.
Member Burns,
Here.
Member Lynn,
Here.
City Administrator Giffen,
Here.
City Attorney Edge.
Here.
So we have a full house, and I always appreciate that. Thanks to everybody for coming out tonight in these odd circumstances. Again, we'd now like to take a moment for a moment of silence and a pledge of allegiance. So, moment of silence, please. Can we use the flag behind my left here?
Hmm.
So everybody pledge allegiance to the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Flag.
of the United States of
United
America,
States of America. And
To
to the
the
republic for which it stands,
Stands.
one nation,
Nation.
nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
justice and for all.
liberty
And
and justice.
justice for all.
Thank you very much. We'll start off tonight with the mayor's report. First of all, I want to again thank everybody for coming out tonight for a virtual meeting. These are somewhat uncomfortable, and but we're doing what we can right now. Last time we tried to do it in space and live, the technology wasn't that great, and there's been a spike in cases, so we decided to go back to virtual this week. So I truly appreciate everybody's willingness to do so. Second thing I want to bring up tonight is in the last month or so, we received some complaints from people concerning speeding throughout the town. I worked with ex police chief and current police chief Tony Baldwin on getting some signs that show your speed is doing such, and we'll be installing those shortly. We've done some traffic studies. We'll get those all out to the public once we have those better. Until then, I just want to let you know we guys are moving forward on that, and that does obviously lead me into the next conversation that Chief David Halfhill did offer his resignation for retirement and retired effectively on July 31st. We wish him the best of retirements and thank him for his service in our community. He was an amazing police chief, probably one of the best. In the meantime, we have Lieutenant Tony Baldwin is the acting police chief. We do have active search going out through the country, really, for a new chief. We're utilizing, and Michael might be able to help me if I forget anything, but we're utilizing different avenues for finding resumes. One of the best ones we have is there's a police union. Another is Kentucky League of Cities is using their network to get us some more resumes. We've had a decent amount of resumes come through. We'll be looking through those and trying to find a replacement. But until then, I think we should all welcome Lieutenant Baldwin as chief of Dayton, Kentucky. He's a long-term employee and a huge fan of Dayton, and we're lucky to have him serve as our next police chief. Lastly, and I don't want to ruin Bob Yoder's fire, but we've made some significant progress on the bump outs along the avenue. He'll be going through that. I really appreciate his hard work on it. I think we've been working on that for 8 years or so. So 5 years on this specific project, but we're making movements on that. So I appreciate everybody's work, and I'll let Bob work on that or pontificate on that.
Pontificate. Okay. I will keep it
You can do it
short.
now, or you can do it during your report.
Oh, okay.
Well, then that's the end of the mayor's report.
Okay.
So,
Mr. Mayor Baker, just to clarify,
Yes,
Lieutenant Baldwin is the acting police chief at this time, correct?
that's correct.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Any other questions concerning my report? Okay, thank you. I'd like to move along to the approval of the minutes from July 7th, 2020 council meeting.
Motion to approve the minutes as they were given to us.
Second.
We have a motion to approve in a second by member Neary and member Lynn. Do we have any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions?
Yes.
Member Cornett, I believe you were absent last month. We accept your abstention.
Yep.
Anybody else? Any nays? All in favor?
Aye.
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 The ayes have it. And do we have any updates? Don't believe so. Do we have any new business? Okay, we're moving along to the ordinance and orders. The second reading of 2020 number 8, setting forth the compensation and number of authorized positions.
City of Dayton, Kentucky, ordinance 2020, number 8. An ordinance amending ordinance 2019, number 12, setting forth compensation and number of authorized positions for employees under the Dayton Job Classification System. This adds a new neighborhood project coordinator, and it's a second reading.
That is a second reading. Do we have a motion to accept?
I'll make that motion to accept.
Member Baser's made the motion to accept. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Member Lynn's done the second. Do you have any comments?
Yes.
Yes, Mayor, I have a couple comments. I guess I'm going to direct them at you and Michael. At the last meeting, I asked us if this position would be a contract employee or not. Has that been determined? If it's going to be a contract employee or not?
For once, thanks, Mr. Giffen was away. So, Mr. Burns, would you please repeat your question?
Yeah, at the last council meeting, I asked if this position was going to be a contract employee or not. And I just want to know if it has been decided or not. It's going to be a contract employee.
Mr. Giffen is on mute, I believe.
Sorry. It will most likely be a contracted employee. The mayor and I need to get together and flesh out the final details of that, but it would be my opinion that it would be a contracted position.
You know, it's a major difference because if it's a contract employee, you pay no benefits and you're just giving them a 1099. So what I look at here, if you're offering from $15 to $21 an hour, Michael, is that correct?
I believe that's the range. Yeah, the high end of the range.
Because if it's not a contract employee, those are loaded dollars. It's going to cost you upwards of $20,000 plus. And if they're not loaded, it's going to cost you more than that. So I question that. And if I look down this list, you got a city coach director only making from 22 to 50,000. You're going to start this employee out almost and probably the same amount of money the coach director will make.
Yeah, that's correct, Bill. That's why it would be my recommendation that it's a contracted position. We don't necessarily foresee it being 40 hours a week. And it's possible we
know
only
it
see it
says
for
20 hours. But if
What's
you
that?
only go to 20 hours, it's still going to cost you $20,000 a year if it's just a contract employee at $20 an hour.
Well, what the mayor and I are going to finalize is actually how long we want the contract to run. It may not run a year. It may run a year, may run more than a year. But that's why I don't recommend it being anything more than a contracted position because you're correct. In order to pay benefits, that becomes something that we can't afford. So that's why it would be my recommendation that it's contracted
Would a
for a set period of time.
excuse me, would a part-time employee still get those benefits?
As long as it's under a certain amount of hours, they would not get those benefits.
So if it was 20 hours a week, we would not have to pay the additional benefits, 20 hours or less per week, correct?
I believe that's correct.
Correct.
Okay.
As long as it stays under 100 hours per month.
100 hours per month, okay.
Okay, I might have missed this last meeting, but can you tell me what the projects are this position is going to work on? I know I read something to do with the historical district, but I really didn't understand it all.
Yeah, so it would be a project-specific type of a role. So the most important one being that we have at the top of the list is applying for our historic district on the National Registry, which takes a substantial amount of time, but there will be some periods of downtime as well. When you submit stuff off to be accredited, then there's kind of a lull period. So we've tossed out the ideas of working on our zoning ordinances. I'm looking at taking a thorough look at our zoning ordinances, see where those can be approved. We know from our comprehensive plan, there's a couple areas in the industrial park that need to be looked at. So we thought that would be a good project to look at as well during those times, those downtimes.
Okay, my question is, we need more workers under our city work, under the guys cleaning the streets, cutting the grass, especially now that they don't have the jail workers helping them. And I don't know how much longer that's going to last. We approved something last year. Are we going to hire another person there? I'd like to see that bill before we put this position together.
No, we're not going to hire anybody into that role. But we at the time we thought about bringing somebody on that could be a shift leader. So that's why we changed that ordinance. But the position's not funded, and I don't foresee it being filled anytime soon.
What about the position in the office? You had a position in there, a temporary employee in there for 20 hours a week, and when the virus came along, you had to lay them off. Understandable. Are you thinking about ever bringing that person back? Because I know right now, when I contacted the city building today and talked to Donna, she was at lunch, which I understand, but also and Phil Lyles had answered the phone.
Bill, yes, Donna was at lunch today.
When you start having taxes come in again,
Bill, to answer your question, yes, we do anticipate bringing that part-time position back. Don and I are kind of taking it on a month-to-month basis. And at this point, we were not quite ready to bring the position back, but it is our plan to bring it back.
You have someone in mind already for this position?
For the neighborhood position?
Yes.
Yes, we do.
Can we ask who that is? No.
I'd rather not say at this point, but we'll let you know when we finalize everything and put out an offer.
This contract, is there any specific timeline on this contract for expiration?
Yeah, those are the final details that the mayor and I are going to sit down and work out. I initially kind of saw it going through the end of the year, through the end of December. At the time, I thought we would be a little bit quicker to get it up and running. So it may be something we extend a little bit past January, but that's something that the mayor and I are going to finalize.
Then
Also, I'd just like to say that I have a huge historic project going on and have had it going on for quite a while on Facebook. I'd like to be involved in that in some shape with helping with the historical district part. That's a possibility.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pretty big task. So the more hands I think that we have helping out, the better. So be happy to have you involved.
So you're asking us to approve the position and a pay range, up to a maximum pay range. Would we, if we were to approve that tonight, are we binding to a contract or to a part-time employee? Tom, please correct me if I'm wrong here. If we would make this a part-time employee with less than 100 hours a month, we wouldn't have the benefits, but they would also be just like everybody else, an employee at will. If we were to do a contract that says it runs through the end of the year, we'd have to pay them out whether or not there was any work or whether or not we could afford them, correct? I mean, a contract also has a time period on it.
Well, I would imagine that we could stipulate that it could end at any point, but that we see it not going any farther than X date. I'm sure that's something we could work into the contract. I'll let Tom add on to that if he would like.
It depends on how you word the contract, but essentially it'll be based on what I've heard so far from the city administrator and the mayor, that it would be project based. So it'd be set up in a way of whenever the project's complete or to that point, it would continue, be to the point whatever we delineate as those timelines. But it wouldn't be at will status per se. It'd be 1099. It's like going and hiring a plumber. If they're in the middle of the job and you think they're doing a horrible job, you're going to cut them loose right then. And that'd be the end of it. And yes, you might time you've already, had them work, but you're not out any further or liable for any further. We've just got to write the contract in a verbal way to do that.
It would. Okay, so if we approve this position, which is just an adjustment to the personnel list and payrolls and everything, if we were to approve that tonight, will that contract have to be approved by council?
No. The contract, that'll be under the mayor's executive board. He gets the ability to enter into any contracts unless there's a specific delineation in a statute that says city council needs to approve the contract. All the regular contracts such as that would be going through the mayor. I think when they started this and they wanted to put the ordinance on, they were still formulating whether it was an employee or whether it would be a contractor, and details were still fleshed among city administration. So they wanted to be safe and have the options depending on the type of person they approached about the job and their needs were, and so forth and so on, to make the best fit for the city. So essentially they wanted to option it both. So they went ahead and put this ordinance on to give them those choices.
Understood. Thank you. You're muted, Mr. Baker.
Sorry. Do we have any other comments regarding second reading of 2020 number 8? Going once, twice, and gone. So we had a motion. We also have a second. Can I get a roll call vote, please, Ms. Ledger?
Member Burns,
No.
Member Lynn,
Aye.
Member Volter,
Aye.
Member Neary,
Aye.
Member Baszler,
Aye.
Member Cornett.
No,
The ayes have it, 4-2. The second order that we have is a second reading of Order 2020 number 2 Romeo, declaring city property as surplus, the PBT intoxicator 500. Do I have a motion to accept Order 2020 number 2 Romeo?
Make that motion.
Motion made by Member Neary. Second.
Second.
Second made by Mr. Volter. Do we have any comments?
What is the-
Can somebody-
Oh, a lot of comments.
What is it?
Well, that's a great question. I did some research on this because I had no idea either. The PBT Intoxicator 500 is a device that folks would blow into if they were being accused of being intoxicated. The police department sees that it is no longer necessary to have that on our roll, as they've updated their, and they're asking for that to be surplus.
And just add on, Mayor, what happens now is there's an intoxilizer, you know, model by probably about 20 plus years at the Campbell County Detention Center, all the police departments use. This is really out of date. It's any results from it would be highly susceptible in court of law today. So, and I'm not completely sure the equipment works more. So it's really beyond repair and really antiquated, unfortunately. But we do have to go through the process of making a declaration before we can just get rid of it.
And for the record, we haven't used it in a very, very long time either. So I don't want people to think we've been using something that's been antiquated. It has been out of use for quite some time. Something that Acting Chief Baldwin ran across, and I just, as Tom said, wanted to go through the formality of disposing of it properly.
Will we have to replace this or not?
No, sir.
Okay.
Any other comments concerning the Intoxicator 500? I had a motion, I had a second. All comments are being closed in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, a roll call, Ms. Ledger.
Member Lynn,
Aye.
Member Volter,
Aye.
Member Neary,
Aye.
Member Baszler,
Aye.
Member Cornett,
aye.
Member Burns.
Aye. Aye.
Unanimous. We are now declaring the Intoxicator 500 as a surplus. That is closed.
I got first dibs on it.
Party favor? Now I'd like to move along to the City Minister's report. Mr. Giffen, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Don't really have a whole lot here, just real quick, a couple things. I've got a meeting with SD1 next week, along with an engineering firm that several of the river cities have been working with in coming up with a scope of services. And we met last month at some point, and it was decided that the group wanted to meet with SD1 to go over that scope of services for two reasons. One, to continue to try to lobby SD1 to potentially be a partner in this project, as we think it'll kill two birds with one stone, one being addressing stormwater related issues that we have focused on in the city, while also helping SD1 with their federal mandate on some of their capacity issues. And I will meet with them next week, and we want to make sure, the second part being, if we do decide to go forward with a project like this, we want to make sure that what we're paying an engineering firm to do isn't a duplication of efforts, meaning if there's information that SD1 has that they've done extensive research on, which there is a lot, we don't want to pay somebody just to redo that information. So it's a little bit of a fact-finding mission too, to figure out what portions of the scope that we've come up with are really already completed by SD1. So I'll report that back to our task force, as well as the other river cities that are involved. And then at some point, if there is traction for this project, we'll bring it to the entire council. In fact, I'll probably share it with you all sooner than later, just so everybody can be brought up to speed on what we've kind of been working on the last couple months in creating this, and we'll see where it goes. The last thing I've got, there's a planning and zoning meeting tomorrow night, 7 o'clock down at the school. It's more of just a formality meeting. It's regarding the comprehensive plan, which we already held public hearings on prior. However, during the last meeting, there was never a formal motion to forward the comprehensive plan to the city council. And then when COVID kind of got pretty serious, we kind of just put a halt on getting the planning and zoning board back together to fix the error. But we're finally going to do that tomorrow night. So it's really not too much for us to go over, because we really already hashed everything out. All the comments have been documented from comprehensive plan, but we will meet, and there will be a portion if the public cares to comment on the document, since it will be a public hearing. But ultimately, the meeting is just to formally approve it for council, and then I'll come back to you all hopefully then in September. So that's all I have, Mayor, for my update. Oh, I don't know if you want to, looking at the agenda, since there aren't department head reports, I don't know if you want to let Bob jump in and talk about the right-of-way a little bit in a little bit more detail, if that's all right.
Yeah, I had that on my list here. Mr. Yoder, I didn't want to cut you off earlier. I want to give you
Problem.
so if you want to speak on the project, please, the floor is yours.
I know we've been working a long time on this, many years, over 8, for the safe routes to school, Dayton Pike, and streetscape. Last year we started on the right-of-way project. Almost a year later, KYTC now has approved our right-of-way plan, and we paid for everything. So now we go into the next phase, getting everything moving forward so KYTC can let us go out to bid. So that's kind of our next stage. It's the kind of stage where we're getting closer to construction. I'm working with them to make sure that all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed and everything is looking good. So my next thing will be to pester KYTC to say, when can we go out to bid? So
we're still waiting on KYTC on some aspect of this?
well, we've gone through the right of way. The next thing is they give you permission to go out to bid for construction. So we have the right of way. The designs are done. They're going to go through, now that we've gotten all these check marks, coming back to us and say, give us permission to go out to bid and put the bid documents together. So that's where we are. We're moving forward at KYTC's pace. I just want to say Dunn Robin helped a lot. It seemed our application got stuck in somewhere between District 6 and Frankfurt, and helped find out where it was and get it moving again. So that's there. And I've got another little announcement. I think you already know about Taqueria Nogal, but we also just got a CCAP application for a business moving into 301 6th Avenue. Not ready to announce who it is yet. If you want to call me on the side, I'll tell you. but they'll be making an announcement shortly here about an existing business opening a new location in Dayton, Kentucky, and I think it's very exciting. So, just wanted to throw that out there.
And all we're doing on CCAP now is
Rental and
signs.
yep. So that's all I have, unless you guys have any questions. Oh, I do want to bring up, we talked about it. The mayor and I talked about it. In the next week or so, when I go out and get some chalk paint, I'm going to go out and kind of chalk where the bump outs and stuff are going, so you can get a visual idea of where that's going to be, so people can take a look at it. So, because if there's any changes we feel we'd like to make, now is a time when we can make it.
If we were to make any changes because of businesses being differently situated than when this was drawn up a couple of years ago, if we were to make any changes, we're gonna have to go back to KYTC because it's Route 8.
Yes, we'd have to run the design changes by them. I think, if I remember everything correctly, all the businesses that had bump outs are still there. So everything that we were planning before pretty much works. So, but we'll take a look at it and give people an idea.
Any idea how long it will take to get the okay to go out for bids?
No, I have to be really honest. No.
Why can't they do two things at one time? Just approve it and say go for bid.
You know, I understand. I don't know. I understand your frustration because I share it. We're also waiting, and I discussed with them last week. I had a meeting, a phone meeting last week for about 45 minutes. We have taps from 2017 and 2019, which they awarded last year, and it's been over a year, and I haven't got what's called the memorandum of understanding. That's kind of our agreement with the state that we have these grants and can start moving forward. So I had, like I said, I talked to that. I had a 45-minute meeting talking about this project, that project, and trying to get things moved forward. So, I'm sorry, Jenny. I wish I could say I feel by this time it would happen. I don't feel comfortable saying that. So all I can tell you is I'm going to keep the pressure on them and try to move things forward as fast as I can.
So it's pretty obvious it's not going to happen this year.
No, if I looked at it, if I gave them, if they turned it around in 30 days, that would be September, put the bid together. We're looking late fall, and I am not excited about the prospect of starting something that late. We took enough heat from Irvin Terrace. That wasn't our project this year. So I would expect something in the spring. That's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm pushing for.
Couldn't the project be done in stages as we discussed before? I know you have to put the whole thing out for one bid, but the Dayton Pike sidewalk is just as important as the bump outs.
Yes. I mean, we'll take a look at it. I mean, that's, when we get the right to go out to bid, I think Michael, the mayor, and I, and, we'll get together and say, are we ready to put it out to bid? And, we can talk with the contractors on when we think would be a good time to start each project. But yeah, I mean.
Yeah, we could certainly list a priority in the bid of what we want it done, what we want completed first. We just have to go with the whole thing the whole thing has to be bid, and then as part of the bid packet, we can say, it's our desire to start Dayton Pike first or the bump outs first. We could clarify that in the bid document.
That, lends to Denny's question, which is, the when part. And if we're running into the winter season, we've heard this, we heard it with the Irvin Terrace project, as you indicated, that, we got to a certain point, we couldn't pave it. So people had to put up with it all winter long. We're already in August. If there's anything that any of us can do to help move this along with KYTC, I'll take vacation time and sit at somebody's desk and with the pen saying, please sign this. Anything the council can do, anything that I can do to keep it moving along, just let me know.
Ben is doing a great job reaching out to the Secretary of the Transportation Cabinet. I have a meeting with the head of District SIGNIC Thursday, and I'll bring this up and just try any way that we can to move it forward and try to make sure, and if things get quiet, it's me starting to hunt where in whose pile of papers is our form that needs to be signed. So, and that is a challenge. And some of this was, I'm going to say, some of this was due to the shutdowns in COVID, and it was on somebody's desk and they weren't coming in, and finally figured out where it was, and they came in and moved it forward. So we
Have
were
our representatives help any?
somewhat. I mean, when Dennis was our representative, I discussed it with him. We can bring it up with Rachel. Let's just see. I'll keep on top of it, and if something seems to get stuck and I don't hear something in the next month or so that it's moving forward, we'll do what we can to get moving forward.
Well, thanks for your hard work on it, Bob.
No problem. I mean, it's amazing to me. 4 years is pretty standard what one of these things takes, and that sounds awful, but that's pretty standard. Before I got hired on, I wrote a grant for Newport for US 27, a sidewalk going through there, and that's taken 4 years. This has taken over 8, and it astounds me how long it has taken.
Yeah, I know they started on it the first year or 2 years before I got on the council.
Mm-hmm.
And this is 6 years there.
I know. I have, I have tried everything I can and, done and put a lot of pressure on it. And here we are. We have our right of way. There's only a few people watching, so I'll say this. When I got this on, I think it was Thursday, I did a happy dance. We got our right of way certificate because I wondered when we'd see it. So sent it off to our engineer. So everybody's got what they need to move to the next stage. So we go in there.
And to his credit, Mr. Yoder really did do a happy dance.
I did.
And we've been shaking the tree as much as we can. I've gone down to Frankfurt and met with Secretary Gray personally. We'll continue to shake the tree as far as we can with our elected officials. This is a very important project for Dayton. It's crazy it's sat this long, but we're not going to let it sit. We're going to continue to push. So thank you very much, Mr. Yoder, for your work on this. We're going to move forward on it. Anybody else have any questions for Mr. Yoder? Thank you, sir. The last thing I have on I believe everybody has a copy of their reports. Does anybody have any questions on their reports today?
No, sir. No, sir.
Then updates is the next thing on the agenda, which I believe we already had. So do we have a motion for adjournment?
I have one point I'd like to bring up, sir. I have a petition.
Please.
I have a petition from a citizen down at Sargent Park on the Covert Run entrance. Just working down there and being down there, and there's a big party down there this weekend, which talking to the people down there, they were greatly appreciative of being able to use the park. But there have been requests made to put up signs on Covert Run, park entrance ahead. The traffic through there really flies, and trying to pull out of that parking lot is dangerous sometimes. So could we get signage on that section of road? I know it's right on the Fort Thomas border, but technically Sergeant Park extends across the road. If we could get some signage, both east and westbound, saying caution, park entrance ahead.
I think, if you don't mind me jumping in, sure. I don't see any problem with that. We have enough land there that I think we can put it, ahead of the park entrance and on both sides. And, yeah, that's a very good idea.
Thank you. I promised them I'd
yeah.
pass it along. Thank you.
No, that's a great idea.
If we're having signs made, we might as well put one up where the other entrance is because people have no idea where that entrance is either.
Okay. So,
Thank you, sir.
yep.
Thank you, sir.
Already started the email, sir. Anybody else have any questions or comments or concerns?
Mayor, did we get any questions from from citizens?
I'm sorry, Mr. Burns, I couldn't hear you.
Did we get any questions from the citizens?
Mr. Giffen.
I did not receive any.
Thank you.
Great question, Bill. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, that's a great question that Mr. Burns brings up. If anybody has anything they want to bring before council, info@daytonky.com is the email address to send it to until we can meet again in person. We haven't really seen anything through that, so please use that so we can answer your questions. They mean a lot to us. But yeah, Bill, it's been pretty quiet on that front. Anything else? Do I have a motion for adjournment?
I'll make that motion to adjourn.
Member Neary made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
By Member Cornett. Do we have all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Any abstentions? Thank everybody for joining the night on Tuesday, August 4th, 2020. You all stay safe.